Okay, we are back with the same lecture. This is part 2 of the same lecture. I left you with the question, with the query, that our inheritance is basically not working here, and you were supposed to think about it, about the issue which was being faced here, and um, and I hope meanwhile you guys have thought about it. Most probably you guys may have found the solution as well. Let me recompile the actual code which we wrote, and we will see the issue, and I'll be explaining it to you in a while, the solution. But this is the problem which is being faced here. But see, with this class point x and y variables, this is simple class. It has got its own display function, and then we have a class 3D point. We have made point class as its parent, so x and y are supposed to be received here as well, because these x and y variables are in protected scope, right? But if you see, and I am compiling it, is giving me an error, and it is basically saying that no match found for point. It means it cannot find the point class constructor. But if you see, we have got the constructor here. I don't know why it is not working. You must have been thinking about it. Maybe you have the solution, but before going into the solution, let me further emphasize that the actual problem is due to inheritance, right? See, if I remove this code which inherits this class, and then here we are using the base class function as well. Now the point is a separate class, 3D point is a separate class. Now let us, if we execute it, it is working perfectly fine. So now we are guaranteed that the issue lies with inheritance, right? So let us come towards the solution. Now see, if you see here in the point class, the actual problem is here. See, the point class, how many constructors does this point class have? How many constructors do you see? 1 or 2 or 3? Only one constructor, right? Okay. Now, if you see this constructor, is this constructor a default constructor or an overloaded constructor? Right? This is not a default constructor. This is an overloaded constructor, right? We should have a default constructor like point, taking no parameters, doing nothing, maybe assigning a is equal to b, x is equal to y is equal to 0, right? We should have a point class constructor doing nothing. Since we are inheriting it here, now since we have put this default constructor and we execute it, the problem gets resolved, right? But again, honestly, this in some compilers, I've been trying it in the Visual Studio as well. It by default gives you a default constructor which works fine. So this problem gets resolved here, there, or implicitly. But here in the Dev Studio, we have to explicitly resolve it. So another solution, instead of writing a separate constructor here, you can assign default values to these variables. So using one constructor, you can have two variations. One is the default constructor and the other one is overloaded constructor. So that is how this problem is resolved. Now let us come back to our original example, where we have int a comma int b comma int c, and we assign x, which is coming from the base class, x, assign x the value of a, y we assign value of b, and z we now assign the value of c. Now again, one thing which should be fixed here as well. See there, here we have the print function. In the base class, we have a display function. I want to have same names for both the classes, right? So in the child class as well, I will make the function to print values as a display function. Now let us execute it, and if you see, when we run it, nothing appears, and of course it is because we have not created any instance, right? So shortly I'll be making an instance, but before that let us see how this instance will execute. We make 3D point instance, we call it P, and we pass it three values, 11, 22 and 1. Okay, let's make it 9, right? Now this 11 will go to X, this 22 will go to Y, and this 9 will go to Z, right? And when actually what will happen, this thing will execute and the point class constructor will be called. Point class constructor will be further calling the constructor of the 3D point constructor will be further calling the constructor of the base class, which is the point constructor, and values of X and Y will be initialized, and finally the value of Z will be initialized, and nothing will be displayed on screen, remember, because we are not calling the print function. But okay, we have not put any semicolon. Okay, and now if we execute it, it should have executed like this, but we would love to see the output. Now using the instance P, and let us call the display function of P, which is an instance of the 3D point class. And when this display function will be executed, this will be first calling the display function of the point class, which will be displaying values of X and Y, and then it will be displaying its own variable, which is Z. And let us execute it. And if you see here, as expected, X is equal to 11, Y is equal to 22, 9, Z is equal to 9. This is how it works, right? So that was a quick brainstorming session for you while you were staying at home and studying there as well. Let us do another thing, right? Before leaving you with this lecture, at line number 41, we have called the point classes display function. What will happen if I remove this display? What will happen? Now let us execute it, and if you see, there is a huge bug here. See, so I leave you with this bug and to brainstorm till the next lecture. And remember, I like this one, which I am going to upload with a gap of 5-6 minutes. I'm not going to resolve this issue very quickly for you. You have to brainstorm it for a couple of days, and we will come up with a solution for this. Otherwise, simply if you remove this, if you put this point class, and then the issue gets resolved. But you have to think logically about it. Why is this error being displayed? So see you later.